All right, ladies. Let's take a comfortable seat. Finding your way onto your cushion or mat or blanket, whatever it is you sit on. Take a moment to roll the shoulders toward the back body. Flip your palms up towards the sky. Energetically opening your front body a little bit more. And settle your pelvis into that grounded seat that you're on. And from that stability, rise upward through the spine, letting your head feel nice and light. As we enter the week of Valentine's, I like to think about this as the week of love. And I took a workshop yesterday with a friend and master teacher named Michael Lee, creator of Phoenix Rising Yoga. And he does a partner practice, dialogue, communication every year. This is the first time I've done it with him online with hundreds of other people. And he just always kept reminding us to come back to the loving, come back to the present moment, come back to what's happening right now. And to take a moment to be vulnerable and share not only your loving, but your light with yourself and the world. And we have the power to do that through the Zoom, through intention. So today we're going to work with this heart energy. Let's bring the hands together. Touch all 5 fingers together, but not the palms. So you create like a little dome almost. Thumbs touch your heart center. And pressing into each and every fingertip ever so lightly. Make that connection. Each and every fingertip. Which one do you notice first? Which one's the most obvious? What one do you not notice hardly at all and you have to kind of pay attention? With your thumb touching your breastbone, just raise your breastbone up ever so slightly. Let the shoulders release. And then bow your head into your own light, your own heart center. And let the practice be exactly what you need this morning. On your next exhale, release the hands, softly open the eyes, and roll the shoulders. Okay, so we're going to start lying down on our backs today. We're going to start with a little movement pattern with the arms, and then we'll go from there. So make sure you have everything near you that you might need. I'm talking to myself because I have to take my notes and my phone and my this and my that. And you want to bend your knees and reset your pelvis. Bend your knees and reset your pelvis once you're lying down. Once you're here, make sure that you have room around you so that you can open your arms a little bit. We're going to take those fingers back where we were just now in that little fingertip touch. Come back to your heart center. And we're going to inhale and take the arms as we're opening. Keep the elbows bent, and we're going to try to lay them out onto the floor. They may or may not go. And then as you exhale, bring your hands back in, touch your fingertips, and come back to your heart. So that's all it is. Inhaling, expanding. When you're ready to exhale, close it, bring it back to your heart center. Now keep moving with your own breathing. Try not to make it anything that it isn't. So don't try to make it bigger. Don't try to hold your breath. Don't do any of that. Just breathe and move together. Keeping the elbows bent and the arms soft. And the intention here is that we're coming from this heart center and we're radiating this energy of heart energy and light outward. And then we bring that energy and light back in towards ourselves. There's research that's been done, if you guys have ever heard of an institute called Heart Math. It's a scientifically based institute that studies the energy of the heart and the energy of the brain and the power, how much power the heart energy actually has, more so than the brain. And it's quite fascinating. And so all we're doing here is we're trying to tap into this heart energy. See if you can find it. And we're pretty closed beings most of the time. Last time, we're going to hold the arms out onto the floor. If you can keep them in that shape, it's ideal, but if you have to change it, please do. Now we're going to move the legs, so keep them as they are. As you inhale, the knees stay up, and as you exhale, the knees drift over to one side. It doesn't matter what side. And then as you're ready to inhale, they float up. And then as you're ready to exhale, they float over. So we're just moving back and forth like we were just moving the arms. The exhale drops the knees over to one side. The inhale brings the legs up, working in whatever range of motion feels optimal for you. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do other than be here now. And noticing what's showing up. So it was quite a sweet practice doing it with my now husband. We had never done a program like that before together. And I can tell you that it actually set the stage for the rest of the day to have deeper connection and intention, meaning. And of course, the challenge is to hang on to a little bit of that thread as we move through our day-to-day life and we forget, we get busy. And Michael said something really interesting, you know, the sages, the teachings all tell us that our work in the world is to have and connect to the love and the energy with ourselves. And that's all fine and good. But when you're in relationship, you actually use the relationship to help deepen that, not only within yourself, but with the other person. Which I've known to be true, but when he said it again, it was like, oh yeah, that's why we're in relationship. Now, whatever side you're on, just stop there. And we're going to stay here for about a minute, moving slowly into our yin. And just notice what you notice. And this isn't a hard action. Try not to fuss with it too much. Just be with here for a minute. Just notice what comes up. Part of Michael Lee's work and Phoenix Rising Yoga's work is connecting dialogue, like if you were seeing a therapist, say, with your body. And you use your body to help get into a deeper understanding of who you are. Not just being stuck in the physical body, as I talk about all the time, but really thinking about, in today's practice, the heart and the heart energy and our state of emotions. On your next inhale, bring your knees up. And then just letting your knees float the other way, and we'll hang out here for another minute. And as I have mentioned before, the body is a true gift that we have, that we live in day to day, that we just really don't even pay attention to most of the time unless it's hurting. But maybe we take a moment today to really acknowledge living in this body and all it can help us be as a human, do as a human, experience as a human. All right, on your next inhale, bring your knees back up. Slide your arms down, and then bring your knees to your chest. Just give them a little hold here. Most of us want to pull hard, and you can try that, but you might want to just support your legs and be with this moment here. Let your spine reset itself. Now, as you might guess, today's practice is going to be around the opening of the front body. So we're going to play with our blocks or our bolsters next. So let your feet come down, rolling over to a side, push yourself up. Now, if you don't have a bolster, blocks will work just as well. We're going to start with the pelvis, and then we're going to move up to the heart center. So I'll show you with both. So if I only have my block, I'm going to put my block flat side, shortest side, underneath my sacrum. All right. Remember that it's under the sacrum, not underneath the buttocks or tailbone, not on your lower back. If you're going to use your bolster, and some people have round bolsters and they may or may not work, you can do the same thing, but because the bolsters are bigger, they're going to support more your lower back. And that can be really lovely too. What I want is your shoulders down and your upper body feeling pretty stable. Okay, so either way you choose, block or bolster. A blanket probably isn't going to be high enough. So we're moving into our first yin practice here, our true yin practice. And the first part of this is I want you to just stay with this position. Check in with yourself, make sure your back feels happy, and then slide your right leg down on the floor. So it's going to stay on the floor, and you can stay right here. If you want more, you pick up your left leg, and you're going to hold your left knee with one or two hands. Now, I'm not pulling on my knee, I'm just holding it here, and I'm allowing the dynamic action of one leg coming toward me and one leg moving away from me to open up the front of this right hip. And you're breathing. Don't get overly concerned with holding your right foot straight up. Just let it do what it wants to do. And then finding a place where you can hold your leg where you're comfortable. You can hold underneath your knee if you don't like that pressure on your leg. You can hold lower towards your middle shin if you're a little bit more mobile. And you might notice that your knee naturally wants to move open, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can let that happen. Allow the breath to deepen into the body. And consider this time of loving yourself. This hour that we have together just for you. And what is it you need? What is it you desire? I had to laugh because yesterday I ran an errand and went into the grocery store, and there was all kinds of Valentine's food everywhere. You know, the chocolate covered
strawberries and, the fancy steaks and the lobster and the flowers. And I mean, the whole place was just crazy. And then, of course, you have all the Super Bowl food too. So I had left. I didn't buy any Super Bowl food. I didn't buy any Valentine's food. I just came home and we had a nice day with leftovers. And it was completely sweet and wonderful. We have to ask ourselves, what is it that we set ourselves up for in disappointment? Because we think it's what's supposed to happen, but maybe that's not what's supposed to happen. And so loving every opportunity to become deeper and more aware of how we can get caught up in those have tos and shoulds and disappointment. And that's kind of the opposite of loving, right? Take a deep breath here. And then if you've got a hold of your leg, I want you to slowly lower it down and then slide your right leg back up. And then take a moment in the middle. You might want to adjust a little bit. And then when you feel ready, let's go the other way. So the left leg slides down. You keep it on the floor and just let it move until it's got to its edge. And then you ask yourself, do I feel like I want to pick up my other leg? If the answer is yes, please do. Hold one or two hands. And for me, the work is not pulling on my leg. Trying to keep that quiet, my upper body quiet. Just let the weight of my arms hold my leg here while the other leg and the other side of my body opens. And go back into the breathing. And go back into the awareness of what's happening now. And so when we talk about, moving from a place of love, a lot of people have a hard time with that. They're like, well, I don't even know what that looks like. But what I think about is, how I would act around a baby, or how I would act around a puppy, or how I would act around somebody that really needs my love and attention, And then you ask yourself in your day-to-day life, when you're in the middle of something, well, what would love have me do? Some people say, what would God have me do? All the same. And so when you're in the middle of the grocery store and you see all the Valentine's food and you go, should I get some of that? Should I make this special? There's a lot of shoulds in that questions. And I finally said, nah, I don't need to do that. What would love have me do? Love would have me just go home and be with my family and be grateful and loving. I don't have to spend all the extra money. And there was a time in my life where I really was not that aware. I expected all of the things. And then got really disappointed when I didn't have them. And that just sets you up for despair. So maybe in this moment we can ask ourselves, what would love have me do? Can I be loving to myself in this moment in yin with all the other ladies together? Breathing into anything that feels sticky, just let it relax, let it go. And then take a nice deep breath. And allow, if you're holding your leg, to let it come to the floor. And sliding the other leg up. Now we're going to go one more time here with this position before we move on. And this is a choice. We're gonna try to put both legs down. And so if that doesn't feel good to you, I want you to just stay where you are, turn your feet out, and bring your knees in. If you think you can, slide your legs down one at a time. All right, and when you're here, you can choose to let your arms just be down. Arms can be open, or arms can be up over your head. To start to open up the upper chest now, because that's where we're going to go next. And if your arms are over your head, just let it be comfortable. You can hold your hands, or you can hold your elbows, or you can just let them be relaxed. Let your legs go. Try not to hold them in any particular position. And notice where the sticky parts are. And breathe there. And you might remember the yin way of doing things. So when we're in a yin practice, tension is desired. We are trying to put tension on tissue on purpose. But if that tension starts to get noisier, louder, stronger, to the point of discomfort or even moving towards pain, that is not what we want. So we have to make it softer. Maybe back up your arms, or maybe bend your knees. And it's okay if there's discomfort somewhere. You just have to make your own judgment, use your own discernment around what's too much. Because yin is different than restorative yoga. Restorative yoga is I'm laying here completely relaxed, completely supported, no tension. Yin is not that. And when we come out of a posture, when we come out of a shape, we are actually feeling this energy move. We feel the blood flow and the lymph flow move. And it gives us a sense of ease. You know, to have pain in joints and tightness in the body is not a normal thing. We all have it, so we think it's normal, but it's not a normal thing. And so we breathe into anything that's present, mentally, emotionally, physically. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath here. And then if your arms are up, bring those down first. And then slowly slide one leg up. And then slide the other leg up. You might want to pause here for a minute. If you feel ready, you can pick your pelvis up and push I've got the bolster, so I'm just going to push it down and then move it away. If you got the block, you might want to slide it sideways. Once you're done with the block, reset your pelvis. And then again, take your knees gently, don't pull hard, back up. So you're in this little closed, supported shape. And let your body and your back settle. Years ago, I learned this, I'll call it a system. And it made a lot of sense to me that in yoga, we do a lot of forward bending and back bending and forward bending and back bending. And if you do any kind of real active yoga, a lot of teachers teach it that way. We were just in a back bend, and what we're doing right now is kind of neutral. But if you were to pull your knees into your chest really hard, you would go into what's called flexion of the spine or forward bending. You do that enough times over and over and over and over again, and you will damage your tissues. And if you've done any kind of practices, whether it's yoga or exercise or whatever, you might have experienced that, like, oh, I did a little too much, a little too many times. All right, so go ahead and put your feet down. We're going to roll to a side, push yourself up for a minute. Now to counterbalance what we just did, I want to do a little satya movement and tabletop pose, and then we're going to go back to opening the chest. So come to tabletop. Remember, satya is that very slow, somatic embodiment kind of movement. So with your toes turned under, you're going to lift your tailbone, lift your heart, lift your eyes in that back bending motion. And then flip your feet, take your tailbone down and your spine up in a flexion or rounding spine movement. Now, why is it okay for me to do this now when I told you not to do it earlier? Because we had a transition time. I had you pause and rest there for about a minute. And this movement is very gentle, very slow. Try to time it with your breathing and let your breathing be nice and slow. And you could even imagine when you're breathing, sending the energy of the breath through the spine. So the inhale takes the breath downward towards the tailbone, towards the sitting bones. And the exhale pulls the breath up towards the heart center, maybe up towards the neck and head. Where your attention goes, the prana flows. So stay within. All right, after your next cat pose and you're all rounded, I want you to come to neutral. We're going to set up for a chest opener, and we're going to use two options just like we just did. So if you're using blocks and you have two of them, you're going to make them into a T. You're going to lie back over them. This goes, the bottom of the T goes between your shoulder blades, the top of the T goes under your head. And many people, if they're in this pose, need something underneath their head to make it higher. Maybe that sounds a little too hard. Then you could use your bolster. I like the bolster this way so that I'm lying over it backwards. And I could choose to put my block down on the floor for my head, or I could use a pillow or a blanket. If none of that sounds good, because they're both kind of high, take your blanket, roll it up so it's got a fairly good thickness to it, and set it across your mat. So whatever you choose, and you might need to fuss a little bit with this. I'll show you with my blanket because I just set it up. You're just going to take your upper chest now, base of your shoulder blades, right across the bolster or the blanket. If you've got the blocks, obviously it's in the middle of your shoulders. And then you descend the shoulders and the head down. Whatever your head is on, you want to feel your neck be really nice and open. You don't want to feel congestion. So please put something under your head if you need to. And then take your arms out. If you can do cactus arms, please do that. If that's too hard, take your arms out to a T. You can keep your legs bent or you can straighten your legs down. The point here is to really on purpose push the chest up and create some tension around the upper back and chest. And the most important thing I want you to think about here is the position of your head. There is nothing wrong with lifting your head up and putting something underneath it if you feel tension in your neck. Think more around your chest and your breast tissue, your rib cage, your armpits. Think more around there. And so once you get yourself settled, I want you to just take a nice deep breath and breathe into any of those places that have tension. And you might start with your knees bent, and then you might say, oh, I'm going to try and see what it feels like with my legs down after you're there for a little while.
You might even want to go back into that suggestion that I had in the beginning where we were moving our arms. And as you inhale your light from your heart, that loving energy comes out and away from you, kind of expands out into the space around you. And then when you exhale, you bring that same loving energy from outward back in. So you don't ever deplete yourself, is the message there. You know, we always use that analogy of, you know, when you're in an airplane and they tell you put your oxygen mask on yourself first and then start to help other people. So we need to make sure we remember the loving and the energy of light stays with us. And then we can also shine it out. There's no depletion. A lot of people get frustrated around holidays like Valentine's Day because it's so commercialized. But just like when I was in this program yesterday, you know, you strip away all the things, you know, all the have tos and the shoulds and the expectations and the disappointments, you know, you shake all that out, and what's at the base of it? We all want to be loved. We all want to be heard. Michael talked yesterday a lot about communication, and one of the most loving acts we can do for another is to listen. And I would say that's true for ourselves. Can we listen to ourselves? And how do we talk to ourselves? Do we talk to ourselves in loving kindness? Or do we, you know, are we a little not so nice to ourselves? So we're breathing and we're allowing. And we just stay present to whatever shows up. Take a nice deep breath. And now to start to bring yourself out of that shape, I want you to, if your legs are bent or straight, please bend them. And start to bring your arms closer to your body. And then gently roll to the side. And bring yourself up to sitting. Alrighty. Our next posture is going to be seated. So if you want to sit on a blanket or something, go ahead. We're going to start to move towards butterfly eventually, but for right now, we're going to sit with our legs and our spine upright and bring our feet closer to us. Yoga calls this pose Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose. The feet are close and you can hold your ankles. You can hold the backs of your feet, your toes. You don't have to hold anything. If you've got a lot of mobility and you don't feel like you're falling over backward, you can just let your arms relax. Now we're all a little bit different here. What I'd like you to do as a transition move is not roll forward. I want your spine as upright as we can. So for me, I'm short-waisted. I can hold my feet, but it makes me want to move forward. So I'm gonna hold my ankles so I can sit up nice and straight. Now, you might say to yourself, I don't really feel anything. I'm pretty open. You might want to take something then. I don't know if you guys feel this way. Take something that's got a little bit of height to it. You could use a block, but that's pretty high. I'm going to use a softer thing. You can put your feet on top of it. So now I raised my feet up. And now I can hold my toes and sit up straight. And it made it a little bit deeper. So you don't have to do any of that. I'm just giving it to you as a suggestion, because if you sit here and you don't feel anything, then it's not really doing anything. Remember, tension on purpose? Tension on purpose. And so you let your legs relax, you sit up on your sit bones, you bring your spine up as straight as you can, and let your head be in neutral. Now, practice with me. Find a place that you can look at right out in front of you, maybe a little bit downward, and keep your eyes on that gaze. Let's practice drishti for this particular shape. Because the quality of our mind really does affect the quality of our heart and the quality of our loving and the quality of our life. And it all needs a little bit of exercise. It needs a little bit of practice. It's okay if you blink. Just try not to move your eyes off of whatever it is you chose. And the longer we stay, the harder it gets, because our mind continually tells our eyes to look around for danger, look around for what's around. But you can know that you're in a safe place. You can start to train your eyes to stay still. And noticing anything in your body. Again, the sticky parts, mostly usually around the joints. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly, you can close your eyes if that felt really hard. Give your eyes a moment. And then transition. I want you to move your feet forward now. We're going to go into butterfly from here. Open up the back of the heart. So feet are away from you. Remember that you can use a bolster if you're using one out in front of you to lean on. And if you happen to have blocks nearby, where'd mine go? Oh, they're right directly behind me. You can pile them up, or you can pile pillows up. Maybe you could put your head on something. So as you start to fold forward, you might find a place where you could rest your head. Not everybody has all those props, so don't worry about it if your head doesn't have anywhere to be. The other choice is you could put your elbows down and put your head in your hands. Any or all of those choices are wonderful. What I'd like you to do, though, is if you can, have a way to support your head so that it can be a little bit more quieting, if that's possible. If it's not possible, don't worry about it. Just close your eyes. And let your body fold over itself. This is releasing and unwinding and letting go of the tensions in the back of the heart, back of the body. Take a deeper breath. And then slowly starting to bring yourself back up. Once you're up, move your props. Bring your knees together. Stretch your legs down, give them a little rub. Maybe rotate your ankles. All right. Last couple shapes are going to be down lying on our backs. The only prop you might need for this is if you want to put something underneath your legs. So you're going to come to a lying supine position, bend your knees, reset your pelvis, just like we always do. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. And we're going to take the legs over to the right. So I want you to hop your hips over to the left just a little bit. And then bring your legs over so that your right foot stays on the floor. It just rolls over to its ankle. Now we're going to start here. Hand can come to the ankle or foot if you like. Or you can keep your arms open, away from the body. Just make sure both shoulders are down. And I want you, for the beginning of this, to bring your knee away from your body. And some people even take their right hand and push into the left leg so it stays open. If you can hold it there on your own, do so. And we'll stay right here and breathe. Let your left shoulder get nice and heavy. As much as you can, move that arm away from you. And everybody has their own degree and own range that they can move their arms in this position. But the more upward and open they are, the more spaciousness you create. But do what you can. So the heart is an interesting organ. We don't call any other organ by what it actually is, but it's, it's not called a muscle, it's not called an organ, it's called a cardiac muscle or a cardiac organ. We don't do that with any other organ. We don't call it a bladder organ, or we don't call, we just don't say things like that. And it's because the organ has such force, the heart has such force that on its own, it just pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps blood and circulates and back out and circulates. And it's really quite an amazing thing that we don't pay much attention to, honestly. The second part of this, I want you to, if you like, you can stay right here, or you can take this top leg and start to drop the knee and wrap the leg around the other one so that you're in a deeper twist now. And that's choice, right? You can stay where you were. And the heart is also looked at as an energetic organ, as I've been talking about in the whole class. It's the area, the chakra, if you will, of light, of love, of expansion. So I find that really fascinating. And when we're working with Yin, we're tapping into the physical body, the energetic body, the heart being both of those. So you get a double whammy today with this kind of a practice. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to bring your legs back up.
uncross them and come back to center with your pelvis. Take a moment, even bring your arms down if you like. Just let yourself reset. When you feel ready, we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee. And then we're going to hop the hips over to the right just a little bit and let the legs go over to the left. And if you can grab your ankle, it's nice to hold it. Or you can use your hand to push the leg away, keeping the right arm open. And just ask yourself, what's too much? Many of us have a desire to go for the deep stretch because for some reason that feels good, but that's not what we do in here. We don't go into the deep stretch because when we do that, we bypass all that soft fascia connective tissue. It kind of gets lost in that. So try not to go into that really deep action. Soften all of your efforts, so you might let go of any tension in your legs or any doing. Can you just be? Can you just breathe and be here now, experience what's going on, and ask yourself, what would love have you do? And remember, you're welcome to stay right here. You don't have to change anything, or you can drop your knee and wrap your leg around the other one and let the twist get a little deeper. It's a different area that you're targeting when you drop your leg in. So just decide if it's what you really want or not, what you really need. As always, they're just suggestions. And let your right shoulder get heavy. Breathing into any of the sticky parts. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath here. And bringing yourself slowly back up. Unwind your legs. Reset your pelvis. And one last time here, just bring your knees to your chest. Try not to pull hard. Remember that transition time. You can hold your legs, just let them rest there for a moment. The less efforting you do here, the better. And you might even notice that your body just, where there might have been tension before, your body's just starting to soften because you brought it back to a neutral position. And then when you feel ready, we're going to move to Shavasana. So taking your time. As always, remember to cover yourself up. Use any props that might make it feel luscious.
And then once you're settled, take that nice deep breath and feel and sense your body just melting, being present to what is. Take a deeper breath. And let that deeper breath start to awaken you from the inside out. And gently start to move and stretch, bringing yourself back to your body. And when you feel ready, you can bend your knees, roll to a side, and find your way to sitting. Once you're seated, just notice anything that's present around the heart center. Let's close the practice, hands coming together at the heart. You can hold this, I'll call it an intention, this energy of expansion today as we move off the mat. Rather than having the energy of contraction, which is what we typically walk around in the world with. We offer the energy of expansion, which is our loving energy. And it will make us feel vulnerable. Let's do it anyway. Always in gratitude for our time together. The teachings of yoga are deep body wisdom and guiding light. May our light always shine brightly, and may we always see the light in each other. Namaste.